Hey everybody, how are you? And I want to thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio's network. My name is Brian Powers, and we're on hiatus. So for those of you that watch us on the regular, you haven't seen us broadcast, but we're just taking a break. And as you can see, I'm where you're supposed to be when you're on hiatus, in the middle of nowhere, basically. So I did want to, I guess, with everything going on in Afghanistan, it's hard, having this kind of news-based opinion network that I haven't commented on it or I haven't had a show about it. I've reached out to a lot of comrades and had a lot of conversations about it. And I guess the big question is to how do our military, how do we get caught so off guard? I mean, I didn't really get caught that off guard, but maybe it's because I wasn't intensely paying attention to what the United States military or politicians were telling us was going on. When you have an oppressive structure like a military, like a corporation, or like any job you've ever had where you had an idiot boss or a narcissist running the show, and you can't give criticism. And when you study, anarchists absolutely hate oppressive structures. Like their whole mantra is, coercion and getting rid of oppressive structures that coerce people. We've seen examples of extraordinarily oppressive and coercive communist, quote unquote, communist structures. And then we've seen, other successes, but I don't think any system, so to speak, whether it be private or government, has ever really figured out a way to either weed out or to eliminate that kind of coercion that prevents real information from going to the top. And what I'm really talking about here, obviously, is if you're a general, you don't want to tell the president you're doing a bad job, do you? If you're a politician, you don't want to tell the public you're doing a bad job. I mean, there's definitely coercion there, So there's this tendency to only bring up the good news up to the top, and I think you know a really prime example of why that kind of oppression from a top heavy structure, or by allowing people, personalities and types of people to get into leadership positions and creating that oppression, kind of regardless of what system you have in place. Because, when I think back, along the lines of either being in activism or politics or having a job, it did a lot of times boil down to the person using the system to their advantage, as opposed to the system being completely wrong, because sometimes the system has good intentions. It just don't work out. And of course, in Afghanistan, that's what we see. So, what I've thought about is, in what I do in my daily life and in organizing and giving advice out to organizers and doing things like that. I mean, I'm trying to kind of analyze where I've created oppressive structure and try to move them away from that kind of stuff, so that that real intelligence flows up to the top. And it's important, but it's very much lacking in today's world. So anyway, um, that's just kind of my thought on Afghanistan. I'm trying to turn people inwards a little more, I guess. Being up here, living in the woods, I have turned inwards myself a little bit, and it's been a growth period for me. Being able to reflect, and I think he is to stop focusing on whether Donald Trump is evil or whether Joe Biden is evil, or this kind of black and white Democrat Republican thinking is something I've always been against. But I think it can go a little deeper than that in thinking, okay, why did I support the Afghanistan war when we first went there? And I don't remember that they did. I know I stood against the Iraqi war, but I was like fresh out of the military when Afghanistan started, and I still had a lot of nationalism. I was very much kind of a liberal guy at that time, if I'm trying to think of myself back then. But I didn't really stand hardly opposed to it. And so I've thought about why did I, Brian Powers, why did I support the war, or why was I timid in speaking out against the war in Afghanistan? And I haven't come to a lot of conclusions yet, but I think I've also changed a lot in the last 20 years, and I'm not that same person that was 24 years old when this war started. Anyway, we're done talking about Afghanistan for now, but we're not done on Revolution Radio. So check us out. We got a lot going on. Daryl Lamont Jenkins has got a TikTok now, and he's out going to concerts, and he's doing a whole bunch of stuff. So I know we've got tons of catching up to do on the Ida Vox report. personally, we're going to do Revolution Radio special reports all the time on whatever kind of pops up in the activist communities. We're going to try and stay on top of our social media feeds and see what you're doing as activists and what you're doing to change the world so that we can get stories and report on it. Feel free to message us with any things, any topics, anything you think that needs to be covered that doesn't get the media it deserves. That's really what I want to do. So while we may not be producing live broadcasts for a couple more weeks, we will be back, and we will need your ideas, and we will need your support and all that kind of stuff. You can make a donation. You can visit us on the web, www.njrevolutionradio.com/donate to make a donation. We're on PayPal. We have Active Network, Cash App, or Venmo us. Find us wherever you make your donations and chip in, because when we come back, we'll have, better sets and audio and things like that. Other than that, if you've got an idea for what you might like to see, again, you can DM us on Facebook, or you can email us, info@njrevolutionradio.com. We'll see you around September 12th. That's when we're slated to return. So until then, this is Brian Powers. I still want to remind everybody that the police can quit their jobs. Peace.